Hey, I'm going to do another little flea market segment. Went to the flea market today, but before I do that, I wanted to talk again about this collet set that I had bought on eBay. When I went to the flea market, I talked to the guy I've been buying tools from. His regular day job is he's a machinist, so he's a professional. And I showed him. I brought in one of the collets and a sleeve, and we talked about it. And I showed him how far this went in, and I said, "Do you think that's supposed to go in further?" Because I don't know if you remember, but the other day I was only able to get this in so far. And he said, "Well," he said, "sometimes." He pointed out to me that it seemed to be hanging up right where the threads are getting to come out there. And he said, he says, "I'll tell you what's going on." He pointed out that somebody's been bashing on the back of this a little bit, and he said you could feel with your finger, you could feel a little bit of a lip right here, and he said I probably just need to deburr that, maybe use a scraper on that. And lo and behold, he lined it up and showed me that sure, if you just push it past that little burr, bingo. So these collets definitely fit this sleeve. So this sleeve is a sleeve for 2H collets. So then the question became, what about the fact that it doesn't want to go into the Hendy spindle? Well, nobody ever said that this was a Hendy. Just because these are 2H collets doesn't mean that this is a Hendy set. But I told him, I said, geez, it goes in pretty far and then it stops. And he says, well, not all of these were made to go all the way in. He said some of these, they were supposed to leave a space here so that you could put in a like a fork-shaped piece to act as a wedge to pop it loose. But he said that typically was the type that were into drawn-in collets, and I know the Hendy's supposed to have a draw-in collet. In other words, you've got this long bar that would go in through the back of the spindle here with a hand wheel-like thing on the back of it, and that would have a threaded end, female threaded end that the collet threads into, and then as you tighten the wheel back here, it pulls that collet in. And because the collet's got these splits in it, if you've got a round piece of stock in here, as this taper gets drawn further into the sleeve here, it squeezes these closed and tightens around the piece. That's what holds it. So this probably is supposed to go all the way in. So the question is it the right size or not? So the first thing I did was, again, I just stick my finger in here and I make sure that that's nice and smooth and there's no debris or chips or anything in there. And I slide this in again like I did before. Only I'm gonna get my non-marring mallet and give it a little love tap. Alright, so I certainly don't want to damage this, so I'm just using this rubber mallet. That's it. So I wonder if that is stopping there because this is not the correct size for this, or what the deal is. So here's what he suggested. Once I get the lathe up and running, I drive it in like this and then put an indicator on it here and see if it runs true. And if it runs true, he basically says use it. And then I can make, there's supposed to be a piece that threads on over this. It's kind of like a nose cone type of deal, and I think the only purpose of it is to actually protect these threads from being damaged. The other thing that's interesting is it's almost like there's a ridge right here. It almost looks like a thread on this. I wonder if something's supposed to screw onto that or what the deal is. And then also there's this ring right here which doesn't look to me like, I don't know. I don't even know if that ring is original or not. But somebody drilled and tapped holes in it, 4 holes in it. So, again, not sure what the deal is there. Kind of was moving the camera around and talking, so sorry about that. Alright, so now, now I gotta figure out how to get that out of there. Well, I tell you, everything I can think of off the top of my head that I could put in here to pry, I'm worried about it damaging the face here. Ow! Oh. Oh. I think there's a sliver on there. I gotta check and see if I got a sliver in my finger. Alright. I have to maybe clean that up. Yeah, right there. There's a little sharp, couple little sharp spots there. The point is, I don't want to damage this, so I'm just going to leave this in here for now. The heck with it. At some point, I'll get a wooden dowel or something and probably just drive it out from the back. But I was glad to hear from him that, you know, he concurred with my thoughts that $15 plus $10 shipping was a good deal for this set, especially with the sleeve. Alright guys, without further ado, it's flea market time! I got this punch. This is, looks like it's brand new. I don't think that's been hit with a hammer once. Craftsman, small punch. Lately I've had this thing for punches. I can't seem to pass up a cheap punch. I think I got this for 50 cents or $1. So that'll go in the toolbox. That was actually an item from my last flea market haul, but I forgot about it, and because I had it in my coat pocket. Anyways, pardon me, just having a little Java break. All right, it's kind of a giveaway. We got something sticking out there. Fluke DVM. Fluke multimeters are really good quality multimeters. Since way back in my early days when I used to do a lot of electronic, consumer electronic repair, TV sets, VCRs, things like that, stereo equipment, I've always liked Fluke equipment. And to this day, I still own 2 Flukes. I keep 1 Fluke in my tool bag in my truck for my regular everyday work. And I have a second, more elaborate Fluke that splits time between down here in the dungeon and up in my office. Well, okay, I just checked. It must be up in the up in my office. But got 2 of them, like I said, and this is a Model 77 Series 2. This is a very nice meter. This meter is brand new. Never been used. There's a little bit of rub on the case, but everything indicates that this meter was basically barely used, if not brand new. And he put a brand new battery in it. And make a long story short, he had an ask of 90 on this. He said he would do 80. By the time I finished buying everything else that's in the bag, which is $50 worth of stuff, I got him to take 50 for this and making it even 100. So for 50 bucks, I'm quite happy with this meter, even though it's going to probably be relegated to being just a spare meter for now. My other meter in the truck, I can't remember what model it is. It's physically smaller than this, and it doesn't have the rotary switch. It's got 4 buttons. And I love that meter. It's a fully auto-ranging meter. But what has lately started to happen with it is the buttons have started to become a little, you know, some of the buttons, when you press them, they don't respond. I've taken it apart, tried cleaning it, and putting it back together, and that didn't seem to really do much. And I noticed that some days it works great, some days it just doesn't. But it never not works at all. It's just on some days I have to like press really hard or press multiple times to get it to change modes. So, and it always defaults to DC. So the problem is, when I turn it on, I always have to change it. I always have to hit the mode switch to select AC voltage. So, because I'm working on mostly AC circuits these days. Nut driver set, Xcelite. Dusty. He's had this for a while now, and I kept seeing it and thinking, you know, it's a nice nut driver set, because I happen to know that Xcelite is a very good tool. These are made in the USA. Xcelite, for those of you who don't recognize the name, Xcelite's considered to be a high-end tool manufacturer for the electronics industry. So, you know, I don't know if I'd call it the Snap-on of the electronics industry, but it's up there. I believe these are made by the same company that owns Cooper Tools, which you've probably seen soldering equipment and other tools by Cooper Tools. So these are good quality. You know, it was funny, we were talking about it. By the way, he had 10 bucks on this for the weeks that it's been sitting there. Nobody popped on it, so I got him for 5 bucks. Would have bought it a while ago, but I had this cheap quality nut driver set here, and then I've got another set of Xcelites, not in a nice little holder, but I've got I've got several of the most popular sizes of the Xcelites. Matter of fact, take a look right here. Here's an Xcelite. Here's Xcelite 1/4 inch. Here's an Xcelite 11/32. That's not a popular one. And then you know, up in the office there's another Xcelite. Up in the office I've got several of the popular ones. And then I've got some long handle ones. Let's see, that's up in the office. Oh no, here we go. Here's one of my. There you go. Now that is a long handled 1/4 inch Xcelite nut driver. That puppy is for when you got to reach way down in there and get a nut out. So I'm good on that for 5 bucks. Happy with that. I want to point out that I actually haven't been paying cash for these last several trips to the flea market. This particular vendor that I'm dealing with, we have a deal worked out. I have some things that he was interested in, and we've been doing some horse trading. So we figure out what the value is of what I've got, and then we work out a deal. So what I ended up doing was I gave him something today that was worth $100, or that he was willing to pay me $100, or more correctly, give me $100 credit in, and then we worked off of that. So a lot of this stuff I ended up buying because he just hasn't had some of the other things that I wanted. You know, there he hasn't had any machinist tools in a while. I got a couple things today, but not much. I'll show those in a minute. He ended up selling a couple things I had passed on. He had a 4-way tool post made by Western Tools. He had 20 bucks on that. I was getting ready to buy that for 15 just to resell it, because I think I could have gotten 30 or 40 bucks on eBay for it. It was in really good shape. Somebody bought that before I got to it. He had a boring head. It was a not the really. It was a knockoff of the really. I forgot what the name of that company is. Not Sandvik, but another company that makes boring heads. It's got an R8 collar on it to go in a Bridgeport. Don't have a Bridgeport machine. Kept thinking maybe I should buy it in case I get one. He had 30 bucks on that. I probably could have got it for 20. It was a nice head, even though it was a knockoff. It was a foreign-made, like Yugoslavian or something like that. Boy, that's bugging me. If I think of the name, I'll put it up on the screen. I don't know what name that one was, but it's a direct copy of. Keith Fenner uses the same head. Can't think for the life of me what. Anyways, I won't spend too much time thinking about that. So he had a dollar bin. In the dollar bin, I got a brand new Milwaukee Sawzall blade for $1. I got not one, but two. This is high strength plastic welded. This is a 2-part epoxy product made by a company called DevCon. I've used several of these DevCon epoxies and had good success with them on plastics. So normally these run me $5 to $7 in the hardware store. So $1 a piece for these. Again, maybe a little old, but I'll tell you, I recently bought these and it was the same packages, so this can't be that old. He's had several of these bottles of 3-in-1 oil. I think I already showed you. I bought a couple previously. I bought another one today. He's got them marked for $3 a piece. This one was actually mistakenly marked with a 2 already. So he was going to give it to me for 2, and then we ended up throwing in this bottle, I think, for another $2 or something. And then this is Zoom Spout Precision Oil. And then he had this can here. This is actually almost a full can. This is the old style metal can of 3-in-1. I gave him $1 for this just because I was kept trying to, like, you know, I'd get to a point where I was like at $34 and I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I'll give you $1 for this. And so yeah, sure. So that's my chemical haul for today. Chuck key for $1. Why? Well, because when I picked it up, I noticed it had this spring-loaded tip on it, and I remembered, boy, that's exactly what my Delta drill press had. I wonder if this is for a Delta, and I had misplaced my Delta drill press one, and I've been using one that wasn't quite the right size on that drill press for a while now, and it's been driving me crazy. And then I was sitting there going, well, as long as I'm buying chuck keys. Here's one. Somebody put on a little chain. It obviously probably stayed with a drill press or something. By keeping it on a chain, they were never at a loss for where it was located. Figured, hey, maybe that'll fit something. I can use that on. So that's that one. Here's another small one. I think I paid 50 cents a piece for those. I think you might have thrown in this little, I don't know what this is actually. I was thinking I could use it as a scribe. It actually says Craftsman on it. But it's a Craftsman USA. But it's pretty sharp, that point on there. And, you know, just to give you an idea how small it is, it's pretty fine. So, again, this weekend, found another Morse taper drill bit and pulled it out, and he just threw it in for free. So, that was a freebie. I forgot what size this is. I'm not going to worry about it. It goes in the drawer for now. Remember I told you I'm a little punch happy? Here's a punch by a company I'm not familiar with. Dasco Pro. It's made in the USA. It's a prick punch. 3/8 inch stock. He had $2 on it. I got it for $1. A brass rod. I do not know what I'm going to do with it. It's he had $3 on it. I think I got it for $1 or $2. And in his words, it's always handy. Yeah, I don't know whether or not I'll use it, turn something out of it, or whether or not it'll end up just being, if I need a drift. It's always nice to use brass as a drift on something you don't want to mar up. So again, I think this was one of those things I wasn't going to buy it until I just needed to like round up to the next dollar amount. Alright, so I bought these 3 doohickeys. Now, these he had there for a while, and I picked them up and looked at them several times, and then finally I just asked him because I wasn't sure exactly what the deal was on these, and alright, pardon the interruption. Okay, so I asked about these, and he said, I meant to take these back to work, or he was going to do a little research on them, because he says he thinks that these were kind of expensive. And like this one is an Ericsson tool. This one must be a foreign made one. It's just got this number on it, this CM15133CHGF, and no other markings on it. And then this one, I can't find any markings at all on it anywhere. This one does not have a collet in it, but he says the collets, you can buy them online. This one's got a collet, it's got a little bit of rust on it. And this one's in excellent shape, and it's got a collet in there, it's a little bit bigger one. So what he said these are is, if you had like say a part that you needed to drill and tap like holes down in the bottom, and you needed to reach in. Alright, so let's just pretend that this is a casting or something, and I wanted to drill a hole down the bottom, and I couldn't do it this way for some reason. Alright, so now, I put this on, say I got this on my Bridgeport, and well, of course the quill's there, and you can only reach down so far. And what this lets you do is you put this in a collet, the correct size collet on the machine, and then you put in your in the collet that's in here, you'd put in your drill or whatever it is you need to put in there, and this allows you to reach down in there and get to where you need to get to. So it's the kind of thing you don't use a lot, but then when you go to use it, they're really handy. This one, you can see how long this one would really reach down far in there. and they're supposed to be precision made. So he was even kind of worried that he had these priced too cheap at 20 bucks a piece. Today, since he still had them there and he hadn't brought them back and said what he was going to do with them, I got him to take 30 bucks for the 3, so 10 bucks a piece. So this is the kind of thing that, you know, I don't even know if I'm ever going to use these, but again, you spend money differently when you're just basically horse trading something that you were going to get rid of anyways. The thing is, you know, if I had sold that item today, I probably would be hard pressed to get the 100 cash for it. He was willing to take 100 credit for stuff that I was getting good deals on anyway, so to me it was a no-brainer. And the last item is, well, blame Keith Fenner at Turn Right Machine Works. I blame him for spending money on this. This is your good old, this one is actually, this is kind of neat. This is a made in Japan, what do you call these, bit brace? Anyways, you know, I've had several of these that I found in the barn, in the garage and everything, that went back to when my father, you know, had them, and he probably bought them used, and just, you know, now electric drills, cordless drills, pfft, come on. I mean, well, lo and behold, I'm sitting there one day watching one of Keith Fenner's videos, Turn Right Machine Works, and what does he show me, or show us who are watching the video? He pulls out one of these suckers, and he's got a deburring tool in it, and he says he keeps this just like on the rack on the side of the Bridgeport. Keeps it handy because he said sometimes, you know, you take a piece off the table and you realize you didn't deburr it, and he just grabs this and, you know, deburrs it real quick. And this is the ratcheting style, and the ratchet works nice and well. And a lot of the ones that he's had there over the years were genuine antiques. I mean, they were really all the patina and everything, you know, and rust for that matter. This one, so damn clean and shiny because it's a modern version of one, and he had $5 on it, so I got it for $3 $3. So when I get my milling machine, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stick a deburring tool on it, and I'm gonna hang it on the rack on my milling machine. So there's my haul for today. Perceived value of $100, and 50 of that's right there in that meter. So I'm happy.